With sadness, he throws his wife into the dragon pit to be eaten as a sacrifice, whispering to him that he's sorry. The story begins with a perilous hunt. A group of men rush off in pursuit of a terrifying dragon. They track the creature to its den, driven by the desire to defeat this monster feared for generations. But their arrival does not go unnoticed. The dragon, sensing their presence, reacts with fury. He blew out huge flames, reducing the majority of them to ashes. A few men survived this first attack, but their hopes were short-lived. The dragon swooped down on them, devouring them one by one. The kingdom plunged into mourning, resigned to living under the yoke of the monster. The dragon became a legend, an ancestral terror that regularly descended on the country to claim its due. Every attempt to confront him ended in bloody failure. The people, enslaved, accepted this bloody tribute, believing that the fragile peace that reigned between them and the dragon depended on these sacrifices. 100 years later, far from the torments of the royal court, two young girls, Elodie and her younger sister Floria, lived in a small village nestled at the foot of the mountains. They led a simple life, chopping wood to survive and helping their widowed father to support the family. However, their quiet existence was about to change when a foreign noblewoman appeared in their village. This woman, dressed in a luxurious outfit, came to announce an unexpected news. She was carrying an official message from the kingdom of Aria. Prince Henry, heir to the throne, wanted to ask for Elodie's hand in marriage. Stunned by this announcement, the girl did not know how to react. Why had she, a simple villager, been chosen? Her father, a greedy and calculating man, saw in this union an unexpected opportunity. The kingdom was rich, and such a marriage could guarantee his family a life of comfort and security. Although Elodie hesitated, he convinced her to submit to this alliance, arguing that the entire village needed the money and resources that this marriage could bring them. A few days later, Elodie, Floria, and their father took a boat to Aria. The journey, long and trying, led them through dark and mysterious waters. As they approached the kingdom, they saw a strange sculpture on the horizon, a gigantic stone dragon, its wings spread out, silently watching over the land. This vision chilled Elodie's blood, but she kept silent, too respectful of traditions to question her destiny. On their arrival in Aria, the family was transported to the royal palace, a grandiose building resplendent in gold. Elodie, impressed, observed the great towers, the vast gardens, and the rich decorations that adorned each corridor. Luxury was omnipresent, but a strange atmosphere hung over the place, like an invisible shadow lurking. Although everything seemed perfect, Elodie felt a growing discomfort in her. She was quickly introduced to Prince Henry, an attractive and courteous man. Their first meeting was pleasant, and the two young men chatted happily as they strolled through the royal gardens. Henry seemed genuinely interested in Elodie, telling her about the two peoples they would unite through their marriage. Gradually, Elodie's distrust faded, and she began to be seduced by the idea of a princess's life by her side. However, the queen, Henry's mother, saw this marriage with a different eye. She openly despised Elodie, considering her a comer unworthy of her royal lineage in conversation with her husband. When she learned that this union was only a way for Elodie's father to enrich himself, the queen became even more hostile, not hesitating to treat the girl in a cold and condescending way. The day before the wedding, the Maratrice went so far as to warn Elodie that this marriage was only a mistake, and that she should give it up before it was too late. The wedding day arrived anyway. Elodie, beautifully adorned in her white dress, was accompanied by her father to the altar where she pronounced her vows in front of the priest. Henry crowned her princess of Aria, and together they left the palace to start their new life as a couple. Shortly after the wedding, Henry announced that he wanted to take Elodie to the mountains for a ceremony in honor of the ancestors. Curious, but slightly worried, she agreed to follow him. On their arrival, Elodie was greeted by masked inhabitants, who explained to her the importance of this ceremony. An ancient legend, passed down from generation to generation, told that a 1,000-year-old dragon required an annual sacrifice to leave the kingdom in peace. This revelation chilled Elodie's blood. She then understood that, under the pretext of a royal union, she had been chosen to be sacrificed. The queen linked their severed hands so that Elodie would also have the royal blood. The queen says that it is a tribute for any princess to get the royal blood to lead better, but it was a trick on her part. Without further ado, Henry, with a sad face and eyes filled with regret, lifted her in his arms and threw her into the dragon's pit. As she fell, Elodie heard her last words. "I'm sorry." Against all odds, she survived the fall. Disoriented, she tried to call for help, but no one would listen to her. In the distance, a yellow light flickered, and strange noises rose from the depths. It was then that she saw the massive silhouette of the dragon approaching. Terrified, she sought to hide. The dragon, with a dull growl, asked his name. Elodie, trembling, answered. Against all odds, the dragon engaged in conversation, revealing that each generation of the kingdom sacrificed a princess of royal blood to keep the peace. But Elodie was not of royal blood, and when she revealed this truth, the dragon hesitated. She then understood that all this was just a masquerade orchestrated by the royal court to preserve a cruel tradition. Determined to survive, Elodie began to look for a way to escape from this underground prison. While exploring the dark caverns, she discovered inscriptions engraved by the ancient sacrificed princesses, as well as a plan to get out. Armed with courage and cunning, she fought her way through the sharp crystals that dotted the cave. The dragon, although alert, seemed hesitant to kill her. Using her crown, Elodie managed to climb a wall of crystals, but the dragon began to pursue her. Meanwhile, her father, in despair, was leading a rescue expedition to save his daughter. He arrived with his men at the entrance to the pit, but the dragon attacked them. Elodie's father tried to fight him, but was mortally wounded. The dragon chases Elodie all the way outside, but fails to reach her because she had hidden under rocks. The queen, seeing the disorder caused by the angry dragon, decides to take Elodie's little sister, Floria, to sacrifice her in her place in order to calm the monster. However, the stepmother comes to warn Elodie of the situation, and she decides to return to the dragon's pit to save her sister, despite the power and dangerousness of the creature. While searching well, she finally found her sister. But she also found a strategy to defeat the creature. In a final act of bravery, Elodie took her father's sword and confronted the dragon. After a fierce struggle, she manages to trap him by setting a trap for him in front of a rock. The dragon, by spitting fire, caused his own fall by burning himself badly. Instead of killing him, Elodie, exhausted but full of compassion, chooses to leave the creature's life to be saved. Together they return to the kingdom. There, Elodie interrupted a new marriage, this time that of her sister Floria, who was to be the next victim. The princess, dressed in her warrior armor, ordered everyone to flee and save their lives. Suddenly, the dragon burst into the palace and, in a final act of anger, spat flames that destroyed the building. The palace collapsed, taking with it the ancient barbaric tradition. Elodie emerged victorious from this fight, the dragon by her side, freeing the kingdom from terror and tyranny.